I'm live. What's up, everyone? Okay, I'm trying something new here. I'm actually using my camera so that it actually looks like one of my videos. Can you guys see the difference? Obviously, you can see and hear the difference. Hopefully, it's working properly. Let's see if you can hear the piano. Everybody hear that? Okay, so since I'm looking at the camera here, I've got my chat on my phone right here. The chat for that, so I can answer questions from here. Good to see everyone, by the way. So yesterday or last night, Aaron and I released a new part of a new chapter, chapter 12 on the ear training course. We've been working on it diligently every day. Aaron is inventing new players, and I am making the videos that go along with it. I'm gradually been backfilling in the videos too, even in the first half. And we have some new parts that are going in the first half as well. But the video that I released last night, I'm going to play right now. I'm going to play for the people that haven't seen any of the ear training program at all. And then we're going to talk about it. I have a sale for today. As I have on when I do my weekend live streams now. They become weekend live streams. The sale discount code is RB200. It's 50% off my YouTube Beato book, my YouTube Instagram Beato book bundle, PDF bundle that's 600 plus pages, and then 30% off the ear training course, same discount code. So let me play this video here so that you guys can hear it. I've never done this before. Aaron helped me set this up. Actually, Aaron set this up for me. So hopefully I'm going to play one button and then you're going to just see it and I'll be quiet. Here we go. What you're about to see is an excerpt from Chapter 12 of the Beato Ear Training Program. This is pretty far into the course and quite difficult, but it will give you an idea of what you'll be able to do once you finish it. Okay, these are about to get a lot more difficult. These are modal harmonies, but in progressions. You're going to be presented a progression beginning on a tonic, then you're going to have 4 chords, and then return to the tonic. In those 4 chords, you're going to have 1 diatonic chord and 2 modal chords. I'm going to give you an example. Okay, that began with the 1 chord, in this case C major. So it went from C major up to the major 3. So that would be 1 modal chord. And then we went to the major 4, F major. Well, that's a diatonic chord, so that's not a modal chord. And then we had F minor, which is a modal chord, and back to 1. So the 2 modal chords in that progression are the major 3 and the minor 4 in that order. If you click them in the wrong order, meaning the minor 4 first, then the major 3, it will be marked as incorrect. You have to do them in the correct order. Let's take a look at a couple examples. You can see how tricky this is. It begins on a major tonic, then it goes down to the major 6 chord, which would be your first modal chord. Normally the 6th chord would be minor in a major key. Bum, bum. It goes down another minor 3rd to a minor chord. So this would be C minor, which is the flat 5 of F sharp major. So it's the flat 5 minor. So that's your 2nd modal chord. And then down to the 4 chord, 4, 1. Okay, so your 2 chords in order are the major 6 followed by the flat 5 minor. So you click those boxes. Let's try another example. Example 2 begins on a major tonic. Then it actually goes to the 2 minor, which is the diatonic chord. So you know that the next 2 chords are going to be modal chords. You just have to figure out where they are. Then it goes da, da, but minor. So that's going to be the minor flat 7. And then da, da, up a 4th. So this would be the minor flat 3 chord. And then da. So here's the progression again. Bum, 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 dum. So in this case, you click the flat 7 minor followed by the flat 3 minor. These are very difficult to do. Listen to the bass motion. You should be able to recognize, like in this example, that the first note went up a whole step to the minor 2 chord, which is the diatonic chord. So then I instantly know the next 2 chords are going to be modal chords. So I'm going to simply listen to the interval relationship to the 2 chord, figure out whether it's major. Okay, that is a much more advanced chapter. As I said, that's in part 12 of the ear training course. Every single part has multiple modules. So some of them, I mean, there's hundreds of modules in the course right now. And it begins with very, very simply with simple pitch matching, timbre identification. But then it goes into intervals. And then we have chapters on intervals, on triads, 7th chords, things like that. And eventually we get to this modal chord identification. Let me just talk about that for a minute before we do a little triad practice here. When I say modal, in the first example that I played, some of you said, oh, the Beatles chord progression, or the, it would be Radiohead too, right? So 1 to the major 3 to 4 to 4 minor. I like using that example because it's one that you've all heard. It's the Hollies. I made a whole video about that, about the copyright between Lana Del Rey and Radiohead and the Hollies. But the reason that E major chord, when it goes from C to E major, some of you might say, well, that's a secondary dominant. That's really the 5 of A minor, right? Because if normally it would, if it was a secondary dominant, it would resolve to the 6th chord. So it'd be a 5 of 6. But in this case, it's 5 to 5 to 4. And then to 4 minor, and then back to 1. So in that instance, it's functioning modally because it's not resolving to the typical, what it would be if it were a secondary dominant. But really, that doesn't matter. Really, the important thing is being able to identify it by ear and to notate it. 1, major 3, 4, minor 4 to 1. Okay, this can be done simply by being able to recognize the difference between major and minor triads and being able to tell what the root motion is, what the interval between the opening chord, the tonic, C, and then da da is a major 3rd interval. And all you need to do is, if you can hear da, and you say, oh, that's a major triad built off the major 3rd. Okay? You do need a little bit of theory knowledge. You have to know what the diatonic triads are in a major key, meaning 1 major, 2 minor, 3 minor, 4 major, 5 major, 6 minor, 7 diminished, and then repeat. So if you know those things, that's pretty much the only knowledge you need to have, and how to name intervals to be able to use the ear training course. So it's actually, the theory part is very basic. But let's talk about why you need to be able to recognize these things and how to recognize them. I'll repeat the sale for today. Discount code is RB200. It's 50% off the Beato book YouTube transcription bundle. It's over 600 pages, the PDF. That has a lot of the theory part of it in there. Actually, it has all of the theory in there. And then the ear training course is on sale for today. Discount code, same discount code, RB200, 30% off. Okay, so being able to recognize triads. There's not just the 4 triads that we want to be able to differentiate between major, minor, diminished, and augmented, but there's also the triads, the Rick Beato triads that I talk about on my channel. The sus4 triad, the sus2 triad, the Phrygian triad, Lydian triad, the Phrygian triad. And you could have sus4, flat 5. We'll just stick with those. We'll just add in the sus2, sus4, Phrygian, and Lydian. So the reason that I think people should be able to recognize these things is because you will find these particular triads in the middle of chords. For example, if I take C sus2 and put A in the bass, C sus2 with an A bass is an A minor 11 chord, which is an incredibly common chord. It's not just common in jazz, it's common in pop music. If you think of the song Clarity, it's the first chord is a minor 11 chord. Minor 11 chords are all through pop music. It's a very, very common chord. Now, there are other ways that you could voice that chord as well. I could have played it like this. I could have played G sus4 over A, and I'd have the same chord. It's just an inversion. So this sus2, those same notes, G, C, D, if I play it C, D, G, so this would be G sus4. The next inversion would be C sus2. The next inversion would be D quartal, D, G, C. There's going to be these inversions. I don't know why I couldn't think of that. We're going to add the inversions to the first part of the ear training course as well, the inversions of all these different triads, because many of them are very common voicings. Okay, if I took a C Lydian triad or a C Phrygian triad, if I start inverting those, right? Let's say I take C Phrygian, so it'd be C, D flat, G. If I go to the next inversion, right there, if I take this chord here, so it'd be C sharp, A, C. So that's the first inversion. I put A in the bass. That would give me an A7 sharp 9 chord. Okay, that is a very common spacing that you find all the time. Not only do you find it in jazz, but you find it in rock, right? If I play right there, that's Jimi Hendrix. Although he does it down a half step. So those kind of chord voicings are very, very common. So being able to recognize that spacing, right? Right there. Dum. That is the Jimi Hendrix chord voicing. It's a dominant 7 sharp 9. And that is just simply an inversion of that Phrygian triad. Okay? So that Phrygian triad would be, or the next inversion would be that. Right? Okay, so let's talk about these things, about being able to recognize them. So one of the first exercises that I do in the ear training course, and I do it in the video portion, because the ear training course isn't just a course that you work on and keep track of your progress, because it does do that using the programming. But there are also videos in there where I explain exercises that we don't necessarily do, things that I want you to practice on your own, which involves singing typically. So if I play this perfect fifth interval and I say da, I just sang that note because I want it to be a C major chord. So I filled in the middle note of the chord, and that gives me the quality, right? If I did da, I know that that note is F sharp there because I'm playing C and G and I sang the sharp 4. If I sang da, that would be a C sus2. Okay, so in my head, I hear those outer notes and I'm filling in this note, filling in this note, filling in this note, filling in this note. So I'm pre-hearing those. Okay, that's called, I call that predictive hearing. Knowing what the note's going to sound like before you sing it. This is the basis for notation, okay, when you're transcribing things. It's also the basis for being able to play what you hear in your head. So this whole predictive ear training, this is why this is important. If I play da, 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 okay, so right there, I'm thinking of those notes ahead of what I'm going to play. If I play ba, if I'm thinking da in the bass. So I'm thinking A in the bass and I'm thinking. So right there in my head, I'm thinking of this. That would be a Lydian major 7. 7th chord. So that would be a C Lydian with a major 7. So C, F sharp, G, B over A. I don't have perfect pitch. But what I do have is great relative pitch. And this is what the ear training course trains. It trains your relative pitch. This is what is so important about relative pitch. It's being able to recognize pre-hear interval combinations. It's that simple. Triads are interval combinations, whether they're played melodically or harmonically. The difference between melodic and harmonic intervals are a melodic interval is just like I said, there's played separately. That would be a melodic sus2 triad, or that would be a harmonic played as a harmony sus2 triad, okay? So this thing of filling in the inner note in the chord, that's one of the first steps that I teach you to practice that I've made videos on. And it's really the basis for hearing the other intervals. If you divide the octave like this with a perfect fifth, let's say, even though the tritone would really be the middle of it, and I think of da, that note there, just knowing that perfect fifth interval, I was able to sing that, or da, or da, that flat six. I used that fifth as a basis to hear those other intervals, okay? So, or da, I'm filling in the fifth of the chord in this case, right? So there's many different things that you can do to practice by playing things on the piano or on your guitar, right? So I could play these two notes, da, and there's my fifth right there. Or I could play da and sing it. You don't need a piano to do it. You can do it on your guitar, you can do it on any instrument really, and just test yourself that way. So this kind of practice is very important to do. Do you ever need to stop practicing relative pitch? No, you really never should stop practicing it. It's really a lifelong study. You can always be improving your ear. The whole idea of the ear training course is to get into when you start having compound triads, for example. These are the kind of things that I had Dylan identify, right? So if I have a let's say I have something like G sus4 and it could be an F, let's see. So this would be two different triads out of a C major scale. Or I could play ba and the bass again. Beautiful sound. And if I really listen hard in the chord, I have two triads. I have da da. And then I have da 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 da. That is empowering to be able to do that, to hear these things and hear those inner structures there. It may just sound like mush at first, but eventually by practicing these things, I played two triads, G sus4 and F Lydian triad together, and I heard that A in the bass. Aaron said, there's a question here. How long would you suggest using an ear training program per day? If you did it 20 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day, it would be great. 30 minutes a day, I would practice it. As the chapters get more difficult, some of the upper levels are, even the people with the best ears are going to have trouble with them, but you can master them. You can master every single section of this. And as you do that, you'll become more empowered. You'll be able to hear songs and know, you'll recognize that. You'll say, I know what that is. 1, 3 major, 4, 4 minor. No problem. Now, these modal progressions get very difficult, as you saw from the example that I played. They get much more difficult. But I explain how to go about listening to them. You'll want to have your piano, your guitar, whatever you're using as your reference instrument there. Stop the video, stop the course, listen to it, and listen for the intervals. Just like when I played that chord there. I sang ba for the bass. If I sang, if I put F in the bass, right, that would be more of an F Lydian voicing. But it would still have those same da 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 da. But when you hear it all together, being able to pick out those notes is tricky, but you'll be able to do it. You will be able to do it. Let me look at some of the questions on here. Please talk about how to practice modes and recognize them. Practicing modes is in the ear training course. What you need to do to practice the modes is you need to know what the interval combinations are, or what the formula for the scales are. Okay, so if I have a major scale, bum 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 bum, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? If I play da da da, so right there I know it's some type of a minor scale. Da 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 da. Okay, so you say that has a minor third and a flat 7, so that would be a Dorian mode, the Dorian mode, I should say, not a Dorian mode. So being able to recognize what is different from a major scale, where does it veer off, right? If I have, okay, there was one note different in there. You could hear that, right? You may not know what it is at first. Da, that is the sharp 4. Da, da. So I can hear that tritone interval. I can also hear that the 4th has been raised in the scale and all the rest of the notes are the same. So there's many levels that you analyze these things. You can analyze it by listening to the interval combinations, the sound of it. There's a sonic vibe to Lydian when you hear the Lydian mode. Or you can hear what is it in relation to the major scale that's been changed. Okay, if I play this. What is that? Well, you know one of the notes is different if you're really listening closely. The beginning of the scale sounds the same. That note. It's down a half step. That's a flat 7 instead of a hearing. Okay, so the scale, a major scale with a flat 7 is the Mixolydian mode. But you have to know the formula of these, and you have to be able to you have to be able to recognize these things instantly, and you can only do that by practicing all the time. Let's see, burn the sound of the E string into your head. Let's see here. Yes, so the Randy just said here, the ear training course starts very basic and gets very advanced. Yes, it does. But it stays basic for a long time. And you master each module as you go. You take as much time as you want on the intervals. And then once you master the intervals, because you will master these things, we consider mastery 80%. Because that's, and you can skip anywhere. There is nothing that says, oh, I don't, I can do intervals, so I'm going to move on to triads. We'll do that then. But I'm a completer. I want to at least get in there and complete these things. So I want to have 100% score in everything. That's really the goal, is to get 100% score in everything. But I consider a passing grade in here is 80%. That's where you get the green good thing on your when it's considered to be mastered. But it will keep track of all your statistics on what you're and if you opt in, you can actually measure your time against other people. You don't need to do it. You can opt in or opt out anytime. But we have a leaderboard of the top 10 people in the world, and there's their times on these things. So if you're competitive like me, you want to get in there and do it. I don't do that. I'm not competitive. Actually, no, I'm very competitive, but not with ear training, not with music. So this is let's talk again about about being able to recognize these things. So be able to recognize that that is a major triad, or that is a major triad. This is a minor triad. Okay, this is a Lydian triad. Being able to recognize these things is being able to recognize them by ear, the triads. You have to know the formulas, and in here you're going to be practicing ones that are close to each other. For example, you may have a section that is that would be sus4 or sus2. And one of the reasons that we did those is because they're actually difficult to differentiate between, or Phrygian and Lydian triads, okay? Because they both have that half step. One has a half step between the root and the flat and the second. Phrygian, da da da, or da da da. The Lydian, okay? So it has a half step between the sharp 4 and 5, or 1 and flat 2. So being able to recognize those, the difference between those, is how you get good at this. Okay. Question. Let's see here. How many questions are there in each section? I think it depends, actually. Aaron, how many questions are there in each section? 25 or 50? I think it's different from in different sections. But let me get back to the chat. That's where I was thinking, like, why am I not seeing the chat? Okay. Let's see. Rick, seeing you play the brother-to-brother solo. Okay, cool. Does anyone know where Rick studied? Rick studied at the University of Rick. Now, I went to Ithaca College for my undergraduate degree, and I got my master's degree at New England Conservatory. I don't know why I can't say New England. It's always been difficult for me to say that. 5-Watt World is on here. What's up, Keith? Anybody that doesn't subscribe to Keith's channel should, because he's almost at 90,000, and we got to get him to 100,000, because when he was on here, he had 400 when he was here last year, about a year ago this time. Anybody that doesn't subscribe to 5-Watt World, subscribe. Jay Monty says sus4 and sus2 are inversions of each other. Yes, that is correct. So I was explaining that before, when I did the C sus2, CDG, and GCD are obviously inversions of each other. But it's important to be able to recognize these structures as they are, because when you notate things, so if I want somebody to play a particular voicing, let's say that I'll take the A minor 11 chord again. So I have C sus2, da 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 da, and I want to if I want to think of if you have a voicing like that, A minor 11, what's nice about that voicing is that the 9th and the 13th of the chord are a half step away from chord tones, from the tones in the voicing. Those two notes are really beautiful. So if I play it in the chord, that's the 9th on the top, or right there is the 13th. Because of that half step rub there, it sounds great against that particular voicing. So sometimes I want if I'm writing a chart, I want people to play those exact voicings. If I'm on the guitar, I want people to play those exact voicings. So I might write this as G sus4 over A, or A minor 11. On guitar, people would play that. And then I'd be hearing that note, or so anytime you have that half step dissonance, either half step or a major seventh, depending on how it falls in the chord. Here, it fell as a major seventh between the C, which is the 3rd, and the 2nd there, or G sus4 with an F sharp there. You have that major 7th interval there. Those things are really beautiful sounding, those dissonances, and they make the chord sound much richer than they would if you had it just in the chord and then the person's playing that note on their horn or singing it. Better if only one instrument's playing one of those upper extensions. That's really an arrangemental thing that's that I've talked about this a little bit on my channel, but I want to talk more about this in relation to arranging, because it's these things are important. I've talked about it in the context of Nirvana. I always love Kurt Cobain as an example, because he would sing the third against power chords all the time. You think like so? You have something. Sus forward. I love that. So because he's playing power chords, he's completing the chord by singing the thirds. If I included it in the chord voicing, it wouldn't have as much power as leaving it out and having the voice complete the chord. It makes it so much richer because you don't have a doubled third. You guys know how I talk about don't double the third in chords because it makes it weaker. That's why in the big Star Wars chord, the B flat major chord that it starts out with, that has 22 B flats, actually has 3 Ds and 2 Fs, because John Williams wants you to hear it as the note B flat. Okay? So he limits the thirds and fifths in there. If it has too many thirds, the chord starts to lose its focus. Okay? That's why you don't want to. And conversely, if you just sing the third in your voice, it has much more power. But the thing is, being able to recognize that it's the third is the first step towards this, right? Okay, so I think that we're good for today. RB 200, 50% off my Beato book, YouTube, Instagram transcription bundle. If you don't follow me on Instagram, please follow me at RickBeato1. I put up a lot of stuff there. I post there every single day. Do a lot of improvising, a lot of guitar posts. That's my outlet for playing every day. And you should definitely follow me over there. It only takes about 40 seconds to watch my typical upload, but there's a lot of great things on Instagram. So follow me on Instagram, follow 5 Watt World. The ear training course, RB200, same thing, 30% off on that. I hope this worked well. This seems like it works really, really well, having the real camera here. It looks like a real video, I think. Anyways, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much, and we'll talk later.